Hi everyone, you can see I have the lovely Dr. Sam Ellis with me. She's a board certified dermatologist in Northern California, and today we're gonna do a little true or false. You ready for it?
Oh, I'm so ready.
We're talking about sunscreen myths. Okay, so it's really exciting to see that sunscreen has become even more popular.
Love it.
Right? I love it too. But with its popularity, I feel like it's become an even more polarizing topic. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a few reasons. I think one, it can feel like a chore. It's just something that you have to do every day or you should do every day. And I think people don't like being told that they should do something, especially if it isn't part of their usual routine. And then the other thing is I think as it's become more popular, people have delved into sunscreen science a little bit more and they've just become skeptics about it in some ways, or some people have at least. And so I think that makes it a little bit more polarizing too.
Yeah, so what is the main reason to wear sunscreen?
The main reason is to prevent skin cancer. That's the #1 cancer in America and worldwide, and we want to be protecting ourselves from the sun in as many ways as we can. But also there are other things that the sun can do to our skin. It can age us, it can cause hyperpigmentation. There's lots of other things that we want to be protecting against with sunscreen.
Yeah, I think I really started paying close attention to it when I started dealing with melasma.
Yes, absolutely. The UV rays are such a big factor in getting melasma and having worsening pigmentation, and so you always want to be protecting your skin in as many ways as you can.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into #1, which is, I already know what your answer is going to be because you already told us the reason why you should wear sunscreen, but true or false? Sunscreen causes cancer.
No, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why it's been perpetuated on social media, but there really is no evidence that sunscreen causes cancer. There's no studies that it has ever harmed human health in that way. And so, it's just gotta die. That myth has to go.
I think that's the worst one because you're trying to tell people to wear sunscreen to prevent cancer.
Right.
And yet you have these people saying that it can cause cancer.
Well, yeah, and as a physician, I would never recommend something that I'm worried is going to harm my patient's health or harm anyone's health. And so that just really undermines the entire goal of what we're trying to achieve as dermatologists and as physicians.
Do you think people are maybe concerned because it's been shown that chemical filters can sometimes end up in the blood?
Yeah, I think that is worth thinking about, and it is a consideration, but still, it hasn't been shown to cause any problems to human health. And when people say sunscreen causes cancer, to me, that's like saying flossing causes cavities. It's like the complete opposite of the reality.
All right, true or false? You can skip wearing sunscreen on cloudy days.
This one it's false. You should wear sunscreen on most cloudy days. That being said, if it is really dark outside, you really don't have to wear sunscreen. And I think we have to choose our battles here. And I think you should put sunscreen on every day just to kind of cover your bases, and that way you don't have to think about it the rest of the day. But if it's truly dark clouds and you check the UV index on your phone and it says the UV index is 0 or 1, which can happen on a cloudy day, it is okay to skip sunscreen on a day like that.
Right, because you're essentially like contending with zero sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally telling
the
you
threat
like
is
no
very
sun.
low. It's not worth it if sunscreen is something that you don't enjoy doing to kind of put your effort in on that day.
Yeah.
And a lot of cloudy days become sunny days. And so it's nice to just have your sunscreen on in the beginning of the day and then you don't have to worry about it.
I've heard that clouds can actually, like if it's like a medium, like sort of sun, like sort of cloudy day where it goes back and forth, I've actually heard that you can get a worse sunburn on days like that because it's like reflecting.
It can. So it can reflect off the ground or other surfaces around you. But I think people really get worse sunburns on that day because they skip their sunscreen and they're more exposed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I have a feeling I'm going to know the answer to this one because it's very similar. But true or false, you don't have to wear sunscreen during the winter.
Yeah, no, you should. You shouldn't base it off of the season. You should base it off of the sun exposure and the UV index.
I kind of think this is perpetuated also by marketing, right? Like I feel like the minute spring rolls around, we start to see all the ads and like the drugstore aisles start to fill with body sunscreens and stuff like that. So it just kind of becomes like in our minds that this is when we need to have sunscreen.
Yeah, and I think it's because a lot of people do only apply sunscreen seasonally or when they're thinking about being outside for a long period of time. And so that makes sense that spring and summer would be when you would do it. But if you're wearing sunscreen consistently like you should, it should be a year-round thing. Especially if you live in a snowy climate, the UV reflecting off of snow is so intense, it can really do some damage to skin. Not just skin cancer, but aging and other things that we tend to worry about.
I mean, I've seen that damage from skiing.
Yes, sometimes the worst burns I see are after a day of like skiing or snowboarding, something like that.
Yeah, because the sun's been like reflecting, you're not doing as good of a job.
Totally, and the friction from your mask or whatever you're using to keep warm is actually brushing your sunscreen off so you don't have as good of an application. It can be really awful.
Yeah, true or false? Mineral sunscreen is better than chemical sunscreen.
This is tough because I actually think for a while, a lot of dermatologists were even saying this, that mineral is better than chemical. And I think some of this has to do with the old school thought that mineral sunscreens reflect all of the UV rays, which we know that they don't reflect most of the rays. They work very similar to chemical sunscreens, and they absorb that UV light and convert it into heat so that it's not affecting your skin. But I do not think that mineral is superior to chemical. I think they each have their merits, but both are very, very effective when used appropriately.
It's all about finding that one that you just will use every day, right?
Yes, be inspired and use it every day.
True or false? You don't have to wear sunscreen if you have a melanin-rich skin tone.
So if your skin has more melanin, it does have more natural protection from UV light and UV exposure. But that being said, you still can have issues like hyperpigmentation, it can contribute to aging, so there are reasons to wear sunscreen even if you have a deeper skin tone.
I have this conversation with my husband often. Like he's just like, I don't think I need sunscreen, and it's really hard for me to convince him.
Yeah, it is tough. It's true that if you have more melanin-rich skin, your chance of getting a sun-induced skin cancer is lower. That is true, but there are other reasons to want to wear sunscreen.
Okay. True or false? The higher the SPF number, the less you have to reapply.
So in theory, that is kind of the thought, is that if you have a higher SPF, you can be in the sun for a longer duration without risking a sunburn. But we all know that we don't really reapply sunscreen as often as we should. We don't apply it perfectly the first time. So really, I want my patients to reapply every 2 hours no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter the SPF.
I mean, unless they're like really caking on like clay thick 100.
Yeah, that's
SPF
true.
100.
If you can still see it on the skin because it's made such a thick layer, like zinc style on the lifeguard nose, you don't need to reapply it every couple of hours, but that's just not the reality of how we wear our sunscreen most days.
Yeah, I remember being on vacation once. I've only seen this happen once in my entire life, but I have seen it happen. There was this family at the pool, and I was so impressed that the mom had gotten so much sunscreen on her kids that I could not tell you what her kids looked like because they had hats on, they had like things like full body, like swimsuits, and then so much sunscreen on their faces it looked like clay masks.
Yes, it totally can be like that, and I actually know some dermatologists who are like, I only feel good about the sunscreen on my kid when I can see it on their skin.
Yep. All right, here's one that I hear all the time.
Okay.
True or false? Using sunscreen can cause vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah, so in theory, that makes sense, right? Like you're not getting as much UV exposure. UV exposure is what helps us make vitamin D in our body. But there was a study done in like 2009, I want to say, that showed that it's really not sunscreen that's causing the problem. Yes, we do have less exposure overall because we are spending more time indoors, but it's not the sunscreen itself that's leading to the vitamin D deficiency.
I feel like they haven't really nailed why we're also vitamin D deficient, right?
No, I mean, we do spend less time in the sun overall, but sometimes it has to do with your diet, how you're supplementing. All of that's going to make a difference in your overall vitamin D levels.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that in my entire 20s, I spent lots of time at the beach in the pool, directly in the sun, without any sunscreen. And I was also vitamin D deficient, so.
Right, it's a complex thing. It's not like one thing leads directly to another.
Yeah. True or false? Sunscreen in makeup provides enough protection.
Yeah, so I feel like so many of my patients rely on the sunscreen in their makeup, but the problem is you're not applying enough makeup, like a thick enough layer of that makeup to actually get the stated SPF that's on the bottle.
I know, I always wonder why they put SPF in makeup. And I guess I get it because from a marketing standpoint, if you are gonna get
2 for 1.
Yeah, you're gonna get people to buy it because they think they're protecting their skin.
Of course.
Yeah, such a bummer though. Like there are a lot of skincare trends I hate on TikTok, right? Like the majority of them.
Oh yeah.
But one that I have actually really appreciated is, all these like women trying to show that if you put the right amount of makeup on that has SPF to cover your skin.
This is how much foundation you would have to put on your face for your SPF in your foundation to actually count. So ladies, please stop.
Oh, you look ridiculous. It doesn't even dry down. Like it's not meant to be applied that way.
It looks like a clay mask. Yeah. True or false? You don't have to wear sunscreen indoors.
So this is kind of a nuanced topic. If you are directly near a big window or you're sitting in front of windows, sure, put your sunscreen on indoors. You need protection because you are getting UV exposure. Now through glass, you're only getting UVA exposure. Most window glass blocks UVB. That's the stuff that would burn you. But UVA can age you, it can cause pigmentation, it can contribute to skin cancers. But if you're indoors, not near a window, you really don't need to be wearing sunscreen.
True or false? Sunscreen is more important for kids than it is for adults.
I mean, the dermatologist in me thinks sunscreen is important for everyone, no
Period.
matter your age, but kids are really vulnerable. They do spend more time outdoors traditionally. We do know that most kids, or most people in general, get most of their UV exposure before the age of 20 that causes skin cancer and other signs of skin damage later in life. So in some ways, it is kind of more important that kids are really, really protected.
Mm-hmm. You know, I always get really sad when I hear that like the majority of your sun damage was done before you turned 20. Makes me really sad because I think about all the days I didn't wear sunscreen.
Yes, but also patients will tell me, they're like, well, if it all happened when I was a kid, why do I need to wear sunscreen now? And you still have so many years left in your life. Don't give up now.
That's like saying like, well, that's it. I guess why bother living, right?
Like, I'm done. Yeah, no, it is important for adults too. That's not to say it's not important for adults.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially because of skin cancer, right?
Absolutely.
All right, last one. This is a topic that I feel like gets derms like really worked up.
I'm sweating already.
True or false? You don't need sunscreen if you have a base tan.
No, you absolutely need sunscreen if you have a base tan. That is the argument so many of my patients give me. They come in, they're super bronzy, they spend lots of time in the pool or at the beach, and they're like, I'm already tan, I'm protected. But just because you have a tan, it does not mean that UV rays are not still damaging your skin. I diagnose skin cancer every day in my practice, and many of those patients are tan or would say that they have a base tan. It doesn't change anything.
I actually remember in my 20s prepping for vacation.
Oh yeah, like going
By
to the
getting
tanning
a
bed,
base tan.
yeah, or something like that.
All right, I think we nailed like the top kind of myths that I've
And if
seen.
you've believed some of these myths, like, don't blame yourself. There's so much misinformation out there. But now you know better.
If there's like one thing that I can tell you that every dermatologist I've ever talked to agrees on, that is that their patients need to wear sunscreen, right?
Yes.
You know, like as a person who is not a doctor, not professionally trained as a skincare expert, I see it all the time. I am not a doctor. I'm reminded all the time. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dermatologist. I'm not a true skincare expert. But what's funny is when it comes to the topic of sunscreen, they don't want to trust their dermatologist either.
I know. They think we like have it out for them or something like that. But we really are trying to recommend things in our patients and just in everyone's best interest.
Yep. So you heard it from a dermatologist who knows. She's a true skincare expert. So there you go, you guys.
Thank you.
Sunscreen myths.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this video. Where can people find you?
I have a YouTube channel, Dr. Sam Ellis, and I have an Instagram at Dr. Samantha Ellis.
I love it. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara, and we'll talk to you soon.